What's up, guys? Welcome back to Drugs and Stuff with Dave Crosland. I'm Scott McNally. Guys, all of our programming, it's brought to you by you, the people of Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. We are brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there for savings on high-quality third-party tested supplements. And by using the code, you let them know that you support what we're doing. We're brought to you by evalbloodanalysis.com. If you're in the UK, you can get your lab work done by Dave at Eval Blood Analysis. Ask Dave for a free pizza. He'll be happy to give that to you with every order. We're also brought to you by Strom Sports Nutrition in the UK. Great health and performance supplements there. And supplementsource.ca for our Canadians. Great deals that change week to week. What's up, Dave? I hear you're doing a lecture pretty soon about is it roid rage, basically? Is that the topic?
It's not a lecture. So Professor Jim McVeigh's got in touch with me and he wants me to just overview some studies that he's been involved with. Okay. So they're meta-analysis studies. So we've got anabolic androgen steroids administration increases self-reported aggression in healthy males.
Okay.
Long-term anabolic androgenic steroid use is associated with deviant brain aging.
With what?
Deviant brain aging.
What does that mean?
And the association between non-medical use of anabolic androgen steroids and interpersonal violence.
Oh, okay.
So basically, he wants my take on the studies, their findings, from a boots on the ground point of view.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of data. There's quite a few studies that link aggression with anabolics. And it's a mix of, there's even sort of quite violent crime that's been linked with anabolics, which I think is potentially a stretch.
Yeah.
So from what I've seen and what feedback I get, a lot of people struggle with anabolics, particularly if trend's in the mix.
Okay.
But you sort of test and mass test and primo and all that sort of stuff. Most people don't have any real issues around them. Even pushing doses high, most people don't have any sort of super real issues with it. But when you put tren in play, then the landscape changes quite dramatically. And a lot of people report not only feeling very anxious or feeling very aggressive or being quite temperamental, but they also report incidents. A lot around driving.
Oh,
and a lot around relationships. And there's even, one of the studies also mentions about sexual aggression within relationships. And I would say that's probably something that quite often gets underreported because it's a relationship. So partners aren't potentially going to come forward and say, well, yeah, he forced himself upon me or he did X, Y, Z or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, the law around tren and being sort of sexually aggressive and everything else, it hasn't been made up. It's not come from nowhere. There is some evidence and a lot of anecdotal reporting around the back of that.
Yeah.
Do anabolics make you aggressive? Yes. Is it a problematic level? I think that very much depends on the person. At the same time, we can't escape the fact that aggressive people will use anabolics.
Did you see that thing? Do you know who Mike Israetel is?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I know the one you're on about when he starts talking about he has to physically stop himself from being violent towards people. And
yeah. I don't know if our audience has seen it. I'll see if I can pull that up. Sorry, go ahead. Continue on.
Well, the thing is, I don't know Mike well. He's always come across as aggressive online, but some people are just like that. So I don't know him as a person. I've been told as a person he's actually a decent bloke.
Okay.
I
don't know him either. He literally lives I think 10 miles from me. He has a gym. It's 20 minutes away.
I've never actually interacted with Mike on any real level, so I don't really know him. And I caught a video where he was talking about his comp prep cycle, and it wasn't extreme, to be fair.
Hold on. Let me pull this up. Listen to this. I don't know if you've seen this part. I'm going to try to little magic here. There we go. Listen to this.
You mentioned from personal experience being aware of the dark side of anabolic use. What is that?
How long do you have? Anxiety like you would not believe. Every day that I'm on high doses, I wake up in the morning afraid of the rest of my day.
God.
Intrusive thoughts. I think about violence all the time. Well, if your testosterone is 25 times what it's supposed to be, what the hell do you think it's going to make you think about? Another one is a marked proximate reduction of IQ. Like right now, as I talk to you, I'm on contest prep. I'm on a considerable dose of anabolics. I'm not as smart right now, and I can feel it. It's this fog, an inability to perceive a broad spectrum of positive human emotion. I live in a really beautiful area in Michigan, and I walk out and there's this pond and these trees, and I know that I like looking at them, but it's a memory to me. I go work out every morning and I look at the pond and the trees and I'm like, like all I feel is rage and frustration and anger and anxiety. That's my daily life.
Welcome to another episode.
Good God, Dave.
Yeah, that's extreme.
It's extreme, man.
That's extreme. I mean, having experienced 5 gram, I've never dealt with anything like that.
I'll say this:
obviously,
he's dieting too, though. And man, I don't care what you're using. If you're on low calories, your brain is going to be foggy. And I'm not trying to defend it and say no, you didn't feel what you felt, man. But I will say that, like, I don't care what cycle you're on. In order to get to extremely low body fat, which I know people argued he could get leaner. And maybe yes, he could, but I guarantee you, man, that diet, there's a lot of brain fog from that alone, not taking it away from him, you know?
No, I mean, it's just his personal experiences. It's how he feels. You can't, you've got to take that at face value and just accept it because it's what he says he's feeling.
Yeah.
If that is the case, if it is at that level where he's constantly fighting aggression and extreme anxiety, it's probably the best thing he's ever done is to retire from bodybuilding because no one should be living like that. That's just not right.
Yeah.
I mean,
this other video, let me see if I can pull this one up because he talked about the actual doses too. Hold on a second. I'm not sure where it's at exactly, so you're just gonna have to bear with me.
Just for this contest, we're...
Oh, by the way, guys, he's out of breath because he's working out during this video. He's not just like, he's not one of those guys. He's not like Dave that's just out of breath from being alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Dave.
Masteron per week, 800 milligrams of Masteron, 175 milligrams of Tren, ACE, taken every day, 175 for the week.
Wait,
And
hold on. He said 175 Tren, ACE every day. But then he said what do you think he means by that?
I think if I'm reading that right, what he's saying is he takes a total of 175 for the week, which he split into daily doses, which would be 25 a day. So that would sit right.
Yeah, okay.
That's nothing.
800
I wanted to hear that
Masteron per week, 800 milligrams of Masteron, 175 milligrams of Tren, ACE, taken every day, 175 for the week.
Okay,
and
I got you.
For extra, on top of that, it was 100 mgs per day of Anavar, oxandrolone, and only for that last week. This is only last week. Everything else was lower than that, sort of leading up to it. And 5 milligrams of Halo. Now, of course, there's growth hormone and everything in the rotation. That stuff doesn't really bother you a ton. This much gear bothers me a ton. And it really, realistically, impinges on my best ability to do my job at RP, which is help.
Huh. Okay.
I don't see that. The only thing I see a bit odd about that is there is literally no estrogen at all.
He didn't say test?
No.
Oh, okay. So I could see myself feeling maybe weird if I didn't have at least some sort of test in there to, support normal function and all that. But he said that was right at the end, so maybe he dropped his test out 2 weeks out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dealing with a no estrogen scenario or a very low estrogen scenario, then definitely you're going to feel some mental issues off that, without
that changes
doubt.
the game. That changes the game.
But even then, I mean, total dosage on that is not astronomical in the slightest.
No.
There's large number of amateurs stepping on men's bikini stages doing double that, so
yeah, we call it men's physique, by the way.
Yeah, I couldn't. You know what? I generally couldn't think of the words.
Dude,
so I've
what, man? I'll tell you what, dude. You could have called it men's bikini when it first started, but those guys have earned their stripes. I'm not making a joke about your shirt when I say that, by the way.
You leave my shirt alone. It's just a present.
What is it's a Team Evil Genius shirt, isn't it? Did Broderick mail that to you?
Broderick had it made for me by Diamond Theory. Yes.
That was very nice of him.
It was.
You must be like the one human being in the world that he's actually nice to.
I think potentially, yes.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if though the very low estrogen impact is definitely going to have mood effects, there's no way you're avoiding that one.
Yeah,
that still isn't. If Mike is having that level of aggression and anxiety from that level of drugs,
yeah,
my gut reaction, without knowing a lot more about the situation, would be that there's some really big underlying issues there. Or there is an extreme sensitivity when it comes to his anxiety and his aggression. At the end of the day, one of the things, when you start looking at the profile of somebody who's attracted to using anabolics,
yeah,
aggressive people feature very highly in that.
Really?
It's attractive to people who have a naturally aggressive nature.
Huh.
It feeds into that, aggression and manliness and alphaness and all that sort of crap that goes there. So, but without doubt, I mean, do anabolics make you angry? Yes. Can that anger be managed? Yes. Is it going to turn you into a roid raging media hype lunatic? No.
Yeah, that's the only thing I maybe don't like about that, because I think that first interview we were looking at was to the general public. That doctor guy had whatever it was, 10, 12 million followers. And I feel like the impression that the general public is going to get from that video is that this is what steroids do to you. I'll tell you right now, guys, steroids never did that to me. And I took a lot more than Mike did. I
had this, because I'm doing these paper reviews, I had this conversation with my wife recently, and she said, you got a little bit Mardy at times, where I was a little bit maybe short or a little bit snappy, or I answered a little bit harshly.
Yeah.
She goes, but never in a way that I would say you were aggressive or angry or anything like that. She goes, you don't use steroids now, and you're just as grumpy and miserable as you've always been.
That's just the way Dave is. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I object to. I don't think I'm grumpy and miserable at all. I just think I'm economical with my emotions. But anyway.
Well, listen.
I don't want to use them all up. I've not got many. I want to, reserve them.
Maybe Mike will get involved with the study. How about that? Get a hold of you and Jim.
I'm actually going to speak to Jim about possibly speaking to Mike. Yeah, I think it could be very interesting. I think it could be very useful for him as well. Yeah.
I hope that you guys do show the other side of it too, though. I'll tell you out of my experience, the first time I ran Trend, I can say I really can kind of relate to what he said there. That said, I didn't know how to manage the compound, and I wasn't comfortable like I became later with doing gear, and down the road I had used much more Trend than that and was just fine, man. I might have been a little distant at times, but I'd consider myself to be someone who's pretty in touch with my emotions and self-aware, and I would say that I had never felt the way he described,
Yeah,
so I hope
they
show
really,
that too, I guess.
Well, this isn't really public stuff. So they've done a review of the studies, and a lot of the questions they've come up with is looking at flaws in the studies, like, are there underlying issues? There's so many control variables that aren't accounted for and stuff like that. So what he's wanting from me is, having read the studies, is one, my opinion on the studies, and two, do I see any of that reflected in what I see on a day-to-day basis? Because he knows I'm sort of boots on the ground. Yeah. I speak to users all the time. So he's wanting to know if does the community reflect what some of the studies is suggesting? And my honest take on that is anxiety, paranoia, interrelationship problems. I would say wholeheartedly there is things there. Somebody taking anabolics and then going downtown and beating the crap out of people, no, I don't buy that. What I buy is that someone who would already want to beat the crap out of people, who would probably be just as violent if they've had alcohol.
Yeah, very similar to something.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
This isn't in those scenarios. I don't think anabolics are the driving factor. The driving factor is this is an aggressive person looking for a way or a reason to be aggressive.
Thank you for tuning in. And if we are providing value to you today, let me encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell. We have several bodybuilding podcasts that come out each week. I had something I wanted to bring up. Guy from the UK, or excuse me, guy from Australia. He's from Patreon, and we were going back and forth, and he mentioned that he went, first of all, he asked if you're using a lot of gear, like 2-3 grams, will that offset the potential catabolic effect of T3? And we kind of went back and forth on that a little bit, and I shared my thoughts. And he said, well, I don't go really crazy high. I never use more than a microgram per pound. So I'll use like 200 micrograms of T3 with a 200-pound guy. Now, if you ask me, man, that is an astronomical dose. He followed that up by saying, well, I don't know if the T3 is real. And I know that they do have a lot of issues in Australia with getting legitimate products. I just wanted to get your take on all this, Dave. And what about some lab testing? Maybe could he get that? Yeah, see what's going on.
I mean,
there.
If you've got doubts about legitimacy of a drug, and you know that drug affects blood work, then test that marker.
Yeah,
because it's going to be the easiest way of finding out whether there is some genuinity with that drug. 200 micrograms of T3 is insane.
Insane. Yeah.
No, I do. It's incredibly high. I don't think most people would need to go above 50. People will, because obviously they want to lose fat and there may be issues with diet adherence and such like that they're trying to compensate for. But from what I've seen blood work wise, 25 is going to pretty much keep you within natural range and just support normal function.
Yeah, like very high end, like TRT plus range version of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're not going to go out of range. You're still going to be within that medical limits. Whereas 37.5 will usually put you just above top of range, and 50 is going to start putting you around a 10-12 mark, which is way above natural. From a point of view of T3 function, I mean, you've got to look at it relative to the ranges as well. T3 range is not massive. If your 4 markers above the top end of test, you're only just above because there's a 30 nmol range there. But if your 4 markers above T3, well, that would be the equivalent of being like 50 on test. So there is definite difference with that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we know T3 is catabolic. We know it's not muscle preserving. There is a negative to running it high.
There's a lot.
And then you end up with this counter as well. So it's like, right, so I'm on 200 micrograms of T3. So now I'm going to up the gear to compensate for the fact that I'm making myself catabolic. And it's like, and you see this with TRT doses. So it's like, well, I'm on a high TRT. Okay. But now I've got thick blood, now I've got low HDL, and now I've got high estrogen. So now I'm going to take an high anti-estrogen. It's like, well, why don't you just nip the dose down a little bit? And then you do away with all this crap, and it's the same with T3 here. You start pushing that too high, you're going to end up having to compensate with anabolics because of the catabolic action it's got, where if you're sensible with it, you're still going to lose the fat.
I'll tell you what, man, I don't know if you can, if like legit 200 T3, his initial question was, can you use enough gear to offset the muscle loss? And before I knew he was on 200, my thought was that I think that it's harder to actually truly lose muscle than we think. And that's just based off of my personal experience and based off of my experience working with people who've had to push really hard. I think that the place where we lose muscle is generally going to be like real muscle loss, not just flatness, is when you're already super, super flat. We have the calories super low. Let's say the cardio is already like 2 sessions a day at an hour per session. The T3, the clen, everything's really high, and you're on protein only, and you're getting pretty lean, but we need to push it just a step further. So we have to pull the food even lower now and increase the cardio even more. It's from that space forward where I see the actual, I feel like muscle loss happen, at least in my personal experience.
When you're pushing that hard, you're effectively dropping into starvation, aren't you? I mean, you really are getting low.
And I don't think that gear can really completely make up for that. And with T3, man, you reach a point where it's high. And I'm talking, for me, it's with people I've worked with that have been well before 75, where it gets really hard to get a pump and your strength starts to get lower. You know what I mean? And when those things all start happening, like you're not going to be able to maintain like progressive overload on 200 T3 for any length of time, you know?
No, I can see that. I mean, one of the issues I always had with dieting, apart from not liking being hungry, was the fact that my strength dropped relatively quickly when I started dieting.
Yeah.
And I hated that. Absolutely hated it. Because I enjoyed training so much, and when I wasn't able to train at any sort of decent level because my strength was dropping, then I got very frustrated very quickly. It was one of the reasons I always struggled with diet.
Yeah. All right. We had a question about running just like a fast estered cycle, like fast acting cycles. You know, a lot of times we talk about foundation being test in a cycle, and that usually ends up being like a test sip or a test E. How would we go about composing a shorter cycle? Let's say it was just like a 6-week run using just fast acting compounds, 6 to 8 weeks.
I test is test, whether it's prop, nth, sip, the actual hormone is the same. Yes, we've got a change in milligrams per milligram in the sense of the S is smaller. So you'll have a higher milligram concentration per 100 milligram. But in the real world, does that have a huge impact? Not particularly. Does the rapid peak have some sort of impact? Yes, there is a bit more with that. But generally, I mean, you could do a prop cycle as long as your injection frequency was in line with the half-life, and there would be no difference to doing an end cycle. You're probably going to get higher peak doses with a slow-acting ester because of the accumulative effect. So, because a fast-acting like prop's going to clear the system very rapidly, you're not going to get a layering effect of one shot layering over the other shot because you've still got residual. So, for argument's sake, test nth, even if you did a one-shot-a-week protocol and you did 250 mega test nth on a Monday, the following Monday, roughly, you're going to be in the region of around 100 milligrams of that first 250 mil still in your system.
Right.
Then you put 250 on top. And so this goes on week, and then you don't reach a full peak plasma level till about week 6, where everything starts to even out. With a prop base, that plasma peak's going to be earlier, and it's going to be slightly lower, even if you tried to work out sort of equal dosing. So there's that side of things. But other than that, there really is not a lot different, apart from you're going to get these stronger peaks post-injection.
And I mean, you're going to get higher levels faster from a probe, right?
Initially, yeah, you're going to go up quicker, but I don't think you're going to reach the total plasma level as high as you would do with an nth.
You know what I think?
I mean, obviously, you could take more prop to compensate for that at the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like the drawback is the fact that it's the logistics of having to take more oil, 2.5 milliliters versus, or 3 milliliters versus 1 milliliter, depending on how your testee is dosed. There's that. I know that Skip prefers to use a combo. He likes to use a combo of a fast acting and long acting together. For the idea being that you get it moving fast, you get the dosing built up fast with the probe. It's just what he likes to do personally, and then have the bulk of it being a long-acting compound.
So does he do basically a prop front load and then go into an nth, or does he run the two together?
He runs the two together. So there'd be a smaller amount of prop all the way through the cycle.
So he does it. So right. So he doesn't start with a low nth, a high prop, and then slowly reverse that ratio.
Correct. Yeah. I think he just does whatever ratio he's using, and I don't know what it is offhand, but I think he does both all the way through. I think that he's been a bigger fan of that.
To be honest, I found DECA and MPB combined greater than the sum of their parts when it came to results, I must admit.
DECA takes a long time to really build up, you know?
But I found when I ran the two together, the results were definitely greater than what I'd found singly or even at a higher dose, but just a single compound. Yeah. You know, just DECA rather than DECA and MPB together. So I do think there's something in it, but if you want a sciencey answer as to why, I haven't got a friggin' Scooby.
All right. Hey, we got a few in the live stream here. Tristan asked us, would Anadrol or Superdrol 2 weeks out from a strongman comp dramatically improve performance if you have only been on TRT for the last 3 months, or is it better to just do it on TRT?
It's going to have a positive impact. To what degree is difficult to ascertain depending on you as an individual and loads of other factors.
Yeah.
But you will get stronger, without doubt.
Yeah, I'd say there's no question. Would you... We had somebody recently ask me about Anavar. When's the earliest they would add... And it might have been Tristan, I can't remember though, for a strongman comp. How early would you add Anavar in? My answer to it was different than this. I feel like with Anadrol or Superdrol, you do get a much quicker effect, or like a halo testing. But with something like an Anavar, I don't really see it. I know some guys that we have on the listening to the show, they've said they do feel like there's a pre-workout boost from Anavar. I've never felt that. I felt Anavar is more one of the ones that I just want to get the levels built up and then ride that for 4 weeks plus,
I've had an impact from Anavar from a point of view of pump and blood flow in a workout, but not anything dramatic on strength. And it's even if you let it build up, I wouldn't say there was a particularly big strength impact. Whereas Oxys, Superdrol, Halo, literally 45 minutes pre-workout, I'm seeing an impact in that workout.
Yeah, like you haven't taken it at all, and then one day you take it, and boom, it's there, right?
Yeah, the strength is definitely up in that workout. So I would say 2 weeks out, even a week. I even run it a week out from comp with people. Add it in a week out and get some impressive results off that for strength.
Anadrol? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends for me. It's interesting. I used Superdrol more in the past 2 years with clients, and I'm not as impressed with it as I thought I would be. And I think I'm going to lean back toward Anadrol. And it's usually for me just the last few days, and it's something we can test out. Like if somebody's in shape, and this is different because he's talking about a powerlifting comp, but if somebody's in shape, I might have them test it. Like, let's run Anadrol for the next 3 days and see what we get compared to what you look like now. And then from there, we can get a good gauge of how long we want to run it into the show. Sometimes it's just 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I would say actually as short as 2 or 3 days before a powerlifting comp, you're going to still get something from it.
Yeah. Guys, let's talk about intra-workout carbs and saving money. So like the past 10-15 years, intra-workouts become super popular. It's a great way to support pre-workout insulin use. It's great for recovery, and it's great for endurance in those long workouts. Here's the thing. It's really expensive. It's not only expensive for us, it's expensive for supplement companies. They really don't make a lot of money off of it. That's where True Nutrition comes in. So True Nutrition, they're not only a retailer, they're also a manufacturer. They're actually making a lot of the products that you guys are already buying from other companies. So just think about it. You're going to cut out the middleman. The only thing you're going to miss out on is the fancy labels and the branding. Outside of that, you're getting the exact same high quality products, but you're getting it directly from the source. If you're going to pay for the price of highly branched cyclic dextrin, ensure that you're getting 25 grams per scoop, not of a mix of carbs, but just of highly branched cyclic dextrin. We can mix the other stuff in later, you know? Use our code THINK, get some savings, plus it's like voting for us. It lets them know that you support what we're doing. Gamboni Law is with us. He's always got something. Thanks for hanging with us, man. He says, great show, guys. Do you have any thoughts on Chase Iron's goal of T levels of 20,000 nanograms? I enjoy his channel, but don't see the point in this. His training seems mainly machine based.
That to me smacks of a Boston Lloyd-esque clickbait.
Well,
I see no other reason to do that apart from same with Boston with his 13-gram cycles.
yeah,
You know, I don't see any reason for that apart from trying to create controversy, get followers, be extreme, and the rest of that. Otherwise, I don't see why.
Well, what about you, Dave? You ran some pretty hefty cycles. You made documentaries, and people made documentaries about you in your head. Was that just for controversy?
No, I was experimenting on myself. I didn't give a shit if anyone read it or not, or watched it or not.
What if Chase feels that way?
He may do, but I don't understand the 20,000. That seems odd. I used drugs for a goal. The drugs themselves weren't the goal. This case, the drugs themselves seem to be the goal.
Well, maybe he's thinking, though, like, well, what would happen? Like, you know, you hear the stories of like, oh, the test is magical at the 3 gram mark. So you're thinking about the goal still. You know, and because I've heard you say that there was that thought, and you wanted to know, okay, well, what does happen at the 3 gram mark? So there was a number involved there, but your goal wasn't the number. Your goal was to see what happened at the number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I don't have criticism of him doing it. That may have come across like, so at the end of the day, he can do what the hell he wants. I just don't see the merit in trying in just that level, unless there's more to the context of it that I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't take 4.5, 5 gram for the sake of taking 4.5, 5 gram. I wanted to try and get as big as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I did an experimental cycle of increasing the dose to see the reactions, to experiment about large and high doses. And I found that around 4.5 gram was a very good spot for me at that time. When I pushed above that, I didn't see the benefit. It became more negative than positive.
Yeah.
So when I did the second run, I was running slightly lower anabolics. Not by a huge amount, but I was running slightly lower anabolics. The difference with the second run is I didn't have the health phase that I'd had. I hate using that terminology, but I'm going to do. But I didn't have the healthy run up to it that I'd had with the first time I went that high. Yeah. And as a result, the compounding effect was very negative. But I didn't set out to take 5 gram for the sake of taking 5 gram. I actually, the very first progressive cycle I did, I went up to 3. I saw where I was at 3, went up to 4, did 4.5, did 5, and then on the second one, I pulled back down. Not much, but I pulled back down. I don't. At the end of the day, everybody's free to do what the hell they want, and if he's interested in driving more traffic through his platform, this is going to work really, really well. And hats off to him for doing it. You know, it's not particularly a bad idea.
Yeah,
it really isn't. You know, I mean, it will drive traffic through his platform. It will get him a lot of interest. We're talking about it here now, so it's obviously working in that sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't see, unless there's something more to this that I want to get it to this level and then see how that impacts my physique, then I can see that conversation. Great. But if it's just a case of, no, I'm just getting it to there because I want to try and get there, fine. But it just strikes me more as a marketing move rather than...
I'm sure it's both, honestly, knowing Chase.
May well be.
You know, I think that there's probably a combo of both. Like he is in the public eye at this point, right? And doing that kind of thing, it is going to draw attention. We're talking about him right now, but I know in his heart, he is a meathead and he does want to get as absolutely big as he can. He wouldn't run an experiment if it wasn't for the sake of hopefully getting a result. You know what I mean?
Fine, crack on.
I see he's doing a lot of like labs and stuff too. He just posted some work he had done yesterday, and like everything looked good. So I know that he checks all that stuff along the way. You know, that's a big part of it, is looking at what he can, looking at the factors he can look at. So I just hope that he stays healthy. That if you guys want my opinion, I just want to see Chase Irons be here a decade from now. I want to be, so if you guys, you know, I'm 57, right, Dave? That's what we told the audience the other week. When I'm 67, I want Chase to still be feeling healthy and big. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to come out of high doses unscathed. I don't know many that have.
Yeah. All right. A lot of T3, T4 questions, thyroid questions. Yeah. What?
No, there was the question about caffeine.
Caffeine. You want to do that one?
Yeah. Well, he's asked.
Where is it? Oh, I see it. Is from UC Suma. Question for Dave. Is the interaction between caffeine and T3 because of the caffeine or because of coffee? It seems all of the studies were coffee blocking absorption, not caffeine per se. That's an interesting point, Matt.
Yes, and I have seen some stuff around caffeine as well. And actually real world stuff, because my wife is hypothyroid, so she uses T3 and T4. And there's with her it was T4 we were looking at, but the T4 absorption was definitely affected when she took it with a cup of tea rather than water.
Okay.
So I think it's probably a mix, but you are right that the vast majority of studies are around coffee. But I do believe that there is a little bit of both, if I'm honest.
Got another one then. Anyone know if T4 has any fat loss benefits?
Well, T4 will increase T3. I mean, that's the mechanism. TSH stimulates thyroid to produce T4. T4 then is converted to T3. Elevated T4, you will elevate T3 in most individuals. There are a few people where the T4 to T3 conversion is somewhat constricted. So increasing T4 doesn't increase T3 to the same ratio. And when you get T4 high and T3 low, that can be quite impacting on how you feel. You'll feel very depressed. But, so if your thyroid axis is functioning correctly, increasing T4 will increase T3, and therefore you will have fat loss.
All right. What else do we have here? How about and Scott Stevenson just did a whole breakdown on this on one of the last episodes. He said, like, we did the whole thing between T4 to T3, reverse T3, and then how both of those can convert into T2, and then how T2 can be converted back. So there's some interesting stuff there. Dave, have you ever heard of Ren and Stimpy? You and Dave are the best duo since Ren and Stimpy. The best on YouTube. Keep it up. Love it.
Yeah, I used to watch Ren and Stimpy.
Which one was Ren? Was he the big one? Because you're definitely the big one. I'm the weaselly looking one, I guess, then.
I honestly don't know.
You guys tell us, which one was Ren?
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Also, too, I want to know if you guys had
did you have
to add
cow and chicken?
I've seen that, yeah.
Oh, right. So that we got it, but I didn't know if it was English or American.
I was going to say, too, guys, comment about the, I hate using the term, the roid rage thing. Have you guys felt that there is a legit roid rage? And I have heard some of our listeners, by the way, they have said, like, oh, I swore off Tren, specifically. It's just that compound that they say that about. They don't say, like, I swore off Anavar, or Masteron.
No, it seems to be predominantly Tren.
Yeah.
Without doubt, it does seem to be the major contributing factor to people having any aggression. And we're not talking about raving lunatic stuff. We're just talking about, were you a grumpy git? Did you get in arguments with the missus? Were you snappy? Stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff that clinically is interesting.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? It says, Unfortunately, I aromatize very easily and can turn into a sloppy mess in the midsection, lower back. Being older, 45, things aren't as tight anymore. My diet is very OCD. Same meals, 6 times a day, 7 days a week, as often as possible. Even at maintenance, I can quickly put on 10 pounds in 2 weeks of upping my test to 150, from 150 to 250, which is all water, but it's still very annoying. You didn't really have a question in there per se, but I guess, do we have any comments on that?
Things that will help you lower estrogen, obviously an anti-estrogen of some description. More frequent injections.
Yeah.
If it's cycle design, you can look at adding in something that will have an anti-estrogen effect. So Primo's actually pretty good. Is it comparative to an AI? Not really, because you're going to be taking, let's use the 250 test as a marker. You're probably going to need somewhere around 300 milligrams of Primo to control the estrogen off that. Now, if you were taking an AI, you'd probably need maybe a total 25 milligrams of Aromacin or a total 1 milligram of Arimidex a week to control that. So, dose to dose, is it comparative? No. But in the doses that you're going to use, is it comparative? Yes. You're not going to use 5 milligrams of Primo in a cycle. You're going to use a couple of 100 milligrams. So then it is a relative alternative.
Yeah.
Masteron, more SERM action than AI action for most people from what I've seen blood work wise. We know there are people that it does lower it to, but it doesn't. It's definitely not across the board. And I would say it's probably 80-85% SERM in most people than it is AI. But from the people I've looked at and the people I've spoken to, I've seen plenty of bloods with people on mass where estrogen, and this is UK terminology, but where estrogen's 300 premol, so double upper limit.
Yeah.
And they're experiencing no estrogen sides at all. So it does seem to be quite effective, even though it doesn't actually lower levels. And then, other than that, you've also got to look at body fat. Aromatase is producing fat, so if you've got a higher body fat, you're going to have a higher level of aromatase. You're going to convert at a higher rate. So being leaner will definitely help manage estrogen to some extent.
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't think I've really got anything else. Diet can have an impact. It's less significant, but it definitely still have an impact.
I have the thing I had talked about before to mention the, thinking about like your breakdown and elimination of estrogen, because we always have, and that's like kind of, how you have your pet peeve with TRT plus. I have my pet peeve with I'm a high aromatizer, and they just accept that this is just the hand I've been dealt. But we can try to improve your estrogen levels by speeding up how quickly you can clear estrogen. There's that aspect too, by taking care of your liver, and by using supplements like calcium deglucarate. So you have the process of glucuronidation, where estrogen is broken down and prepared for elimination. And then you have the counter process called, the enzyme is called beta-glucuronidase, which goes around and undoes all of that work. If your liver is healthy and your stress is low, and you have like a good gut flora, like good healthy gut bacteria, then your body is going to more rapidly eliminate estrogen, and you can include calcium deglucarate to help with that glucuronidation process. So I always try to tell people to do that. Sometimes I think it can be a big factor.
Well, you've seen evidence of it as well, haven't you? I mean, you've seen estrogen managed quite well by doing that.
Yeah, also very important, Prank chimed in and said Ren is the smaller one.
Be happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy.
A Chihuahua. That's me, I guess. You get to be Stimpy, Dave. You don't look excited about that.
No, not really. I'll have to rewatch the cartoon to find out who was the worst, because I can't remember. I'm sure Stimpy was.
I think they were both right up there. You know what I'm saying? They neither of them were prize catches. Dave. Oh no, that was that same question. I saw aromatase. How about this one? He says, okay. How long should you wait to fully refresh androgen receptor sensitivity? And is there anything besides time that you can take to aid in that process? I know we've talked about this before, Dave, but he didn't hear it.
You've done this on purpose, haven't you?
No, this is a genuine question.
There is no such thing as androgen receptor sensitivity or desensitization of androgens. They don't need refreshing. They don't need improving.
Well, there is
they don't
sensitivity.
Live. Yeah, but they don't live longer than a day.
Okay.
So they're dead after 24 hours sooner, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So androgen receptors are constantly being renewed, replaced. When you take anabolics, they actually increase in number. So they clear within 4 hours. They are not damaged. They are not desensitized. And when they clear, so basically testosterone wobbles along, enters the cell, goes down, androgen receptor combines, gives it signaling, comes out, separates, receptor splits into two. You now have two receptors instead of one, and testosterone goes back into the bloodstream and will go and either go into another receptor or gets converted by aromatase or converted by 5-AR or whatever, or gets picked up by SHBG and moves somewhere else, or albumin, whatever. But all these processes happen. Androgen receptors are constantly being renewed. They are constantly dying off. So generally problems occur downstream from there in the sense of stress factors, toxicity buildup, where the body starts having to cope with the stresses from anabolic use more than it can dictate to then growing. But you don't need time for receptors to refresh, and there's nothing to take to cause that to happen. But you do need time to allow the stress impacts of anabolics to leave the body and allow the body to get back to being a healthy state.
Fair enough. I'll take that. Hey guys, should you PCT after a D-ball only cycle? And if so, what should you use?
Recovery is definitely possible. It's person dependent, duration and experience dependent. If you're doing a DO ball only cycle as your first cycle, then recovery is probably very, very likely without any PCT. If you're doing a D-ball only cycle and it's your fifth or sixth one, then recovery may need some assistance. Generally, I would say Novadex and Clomid.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm gonna use chemicals to enhance myself, I'm gonna use chemicals to, get myself back online too.
I'm not aware of any negative, as in like long-term negative damage type aspect if you do a PCT when it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can really go wrong by doing one.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, you can experience shitty sides doing one, but I don't think there's anything. I'm not aware of any long-term problems by doing one if it's not needed.
And if it's a short cycle, like I imagine it was 4 weeks, say that we have two factors, right? Dose and duration for side effects and recovery. And I feel like you're going to bounce back a lot faster from a low dose D-ball cycle for 4 weeks than say, a 500 milligram a test cycle for 16.
Well, you may not even be fully suppressed after 4 weeks of D-ball.
Possibly. Yeah. I wouldn't risk it. That's just my take though.
You wouldn't risk it for a biscuit?
No. And I want to give a shout out too. This is a new Patreon guy, Andrew. He says, "Can you give me a shout out on the upcoming show? Thanks." His Instagram is Ghostman824. How about that?
Hi.
You got a high from Dave. Dude, we had a really nice post. As a matter of fact, did you see it? I tagged you in it on Facebook, on the Facebook group?
No, I didn't actually.
I want to pull this guy up, man, because this is really incredible. Huge story of recovery. Let me pull up his pictures here. Where are you? There we are. His name is Cameron. All right. And here's the pictures that he posted in the group.
Oh, I saw a comment on this. I didn't see the context of it, though.
Yeah. So he said he literally was about to die. He went into kidney, liver, and ultimately respiratory failure. And then he had a stroke. On top of that, he was in a coma. Things looked pretty bleak. After a CT scan, he was okay, I'm going to keep moving down here. Complete vegetative state. And he miraculously pulled out of it. And he said the last picture is from this morning. It's been a wild ride. 18 months and 100 pounds lost. I'm in the best shape of my life, and it just keeps getting better. No matter what you've gone through, you just have to keep going. He said, I listen to the podcast every day. The information has been a game changer. Really appreciate the hard work that you guys put into the shows.
You know what he just said?
What's that?
He just said, just keep swimming.
Yeah, he kind of did, didn't he? He kind of did. Well, he did a lot more than just keep swimming. He had to fight upstream, man. You know, like that. He was nearly gone. He literally was. It's cool to me that we could be. I mean, obviously he's done a lot, but that we're like a positive little birdie in his ear with the podcasts, you know, in the background.
No, and all credit to him as well for it's very easy to just give up at that point. And I don't think people would blame him at that point if he did. You know, when you've had all that happen to you, it's very easy to just give up. But it's those moments that define us, isn't it? It's those decisions we make at those points that are the signposts in our life that define the roads we go down.
Did you just give us some Uncle Dave's advice?
It's all you're getting because I haven't got anything this week. Nothing at all.
Hey, I witnessed the benefits of BPC 157 this week. I fell down. Dave, I tripped, dude, and I fell hard.
Right.
Like, it was bad.
There needs to be a change of terminology. When you're 57 years old, you don't fall down. When you're 57 years old, you have a fall.
Oh, I had a fall. Oh, yeah, you do
fall.
say that. You do say, oh, how's your hip, Scott? You know, do we need to?
Yeah. So are you booked in for hip surgery now? Is this what's happening or what?
Man, I felt stupid, but I fell so hard it like shook me up where I had to like sit down for a few minutes afterwards. I was hustling out of my office through the gym, and I went to go walk up the stairs, and I had the shop vac out, and the hose is hanging out, and on the end of the hose there's like a 3-foot long handle, so it's hard, right? And so my foot kind of caught the hose, but it kept going because the hose was like, you know, it's soft, and I'm moving my leg around it. And I thought I was going to be able to like lift my foot up over it, but then the long piece like locked into the dumbbells, and it just boom, took me straight forward, and I landed at the base of the steps, landed on the stairs. Had I not put my hands out, I would have like curb stomped myself on the second step. It was coming like straight for my face, dude. It was, I don't know how you could do something so dumb, but regardless, man, my elbow was just jacked, right? And I realized Victoria reminded me, you've got some BPC in the fridge. So I took some BPC, and instantly, like 4 hours later, inflammation came down. And I was like, oh, I'm getting some relief here. And now it's feeling even better. Third day in now, I think it is. So, yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. 500 micrograms twice a day is my dosing. That's it. That's my story, Dave. You don't look impressed.
No, there was no blood. There was no guts spilling everywhere. There was no ambulances. I mean, I was expecting a bit more drama.
When you fell down, it was a lot worse, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot more weight behind my fall, isn't there? I mean,
Wait, remember your story when you got into a scrap? You were trying to stop the shoplifters?
Yeah, and when the hippo fell down the steps and broke his leg.
Oh God, that was the worst, man. How is your cardio going and stuff like that?
It's going.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I'm enjoying it because I'm not, but it's getting done.
How much time are you doing on the Peloton?
20 to 30 minutes in the morning. I trained legs with Zach on Friday.
Oh, no kidding. How's that con doing?
He's good. He's Zach. He's had shoulder surgery on one shoulder, so he's rehabbing that, and then he's going to go through shoulder surgery on the other shoulder and have that replaced.
You're kidding me.
No. So he's just sort of ticking over till this is all done, and then he wants to start pushing again next year.
So literally at this point, it'll be like every limb has had an operation then. Both quad tendons.
Yeah.
And now one shoulder and now the other, huh?
Well, one thing Zach has a lot of experience of is coming back from surgeries and injuries and knowing to pace himself and everything else. But he seems in a really good place, to be fair. We did a bit of legs together. Nothing dramatic, but yeah, he seems to be in a good place.
He's a guy who absolutely like loves the sport, like loves bodybuilding, loves the action of, doesn't he? Loves working out.
Yeah, he does. He does very much so. But yeah, I don't know if he's got a date for his second surgery or if they're just judging it based on how well this one recovers.
Okay.
But I believe he's got full range of mobility back now, so which he didn't have before.
Yeah.
So and he's pain 3, which has been a big factor. He sort of said it's just so nice not to have pain in that shoulder anymore.
I could imagine.
But I don't think he's allowed to load it even like lightly at this stage. I think he's got to wait a bit longer.
How's your arm? Can you move it up now?
Yeah, that's so.
I can't see the other one.
No, yeah, they're both working. That
Okay,
one's
I
working.
can see that one.
That one's working.
Nice. Okay, good. Oh, we got a late entry into our contest. You remember we're doing a contest. We haven't talked about it in weeks. We've got the transformation contest, and people are still sticking to it.
Good.
We had Cornelius Parkin. He was like, listen, I know that I'm super late, but can I take it as a disadvantage? I'll enter now, and I'll just do the progress I can make in this time. So he's like halfway in, man.
Yeah, but he's a ringer, is con. I mean, he really can transform himself when he puts his mind to it.
I know. So, but there's going to be a top 3, so we've got that.
He's definitely the dark horse, is con. Even coming in late, he's very capable.
Did I show you the new shirt, by the way?
The one you showed me last week?
I didn't show you on the show though. I don't think most people know about this. Look at I need to find a tent and awning store that will print this for me so I can send one to you, Dave. Oxhead.
I like that because most people won't understand it either, which makes it even better.
They won't understand any of it. They won't understand the picture. They won't understand what it says. They won't understand any of it. You know.
That's definitely.
All right. So right now, I believe they're available up to 3X. So we need to find a 4X for you, Dave. Is that what you US 4X? That's bigger than a UK 4X.
All I know is this one I've got on is a 6.
Jesus.
Yeah, but that's because of my fat gut. Yeah,
it looks like you just got out of jail or something. Did you?
It's modeled on. It's actually. So I didn't realize this. Apparently, I have been informed, and somebody will no doubt correct me if I'm wrong, that each of the American baseball teams have their own slightly unique design on their shirts. And I don't mean design as in pattern. I mean design as in the cut and shape of the shirt.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I didn't know that. I thought they were all the same, just different colors and different logos.
No, I'm led to believe not.
Okay, so who's this one after?
I can't remember. He did tell me and I've forgotten.
Was it the White Sox?
I want to say Boston.
Yeah, that sounds right then.
Yeah. I could be wrong. He did tell me and I've completely forgotten. But, I mean, I like Diamond Theory stuff. I've got a lot of their stuff. And it's not just because they give it me for free, because I have actually bought quite a lot of their stuff as well.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I do. I like this stuff. It's good quality. It's well made. I feel they've had me doing a couple of photo shoots and stuff for them, and I do feel quite a fraud, to be honest, when we do that, because I don't in any way reflect either a bodybuilder or a powerlifter or a strongman.
There was a time that you did. Right?
There was a time, but that time has long gone.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. So here I am with my elbow. Ron Partlow is coming out here at the end of the week. We're doing a Mutant on a Mission at one of the gyms here in Detroit. So I'm supposed to train with him, let alone, man, I can't train like I used to now after I had gotten sick, number one. And now number two, my elbow, after having, how did you say it? Having a fall?
After having a fall, yes.
Yeah, after having a fall, So we'll see how that goes.
You could always use a Zimmer frame or a wheelchair or something to just, tell him that you've had a fall and at your age you have to take it careful.
Use my walker between sets, All right. Anything else coming up, Dave, that you want to tell everybody about before we go?
No.
All right. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us for another episode. And hey, comment with questions for the next show. That's how we do this thing. We answer your questions on the podcast. Guys, go to evalbloodanalysis.com. You can get your labs done by Dave if you are in the UK. Go to truenutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there for high quality third-party tested supplements. And the code THINK, it's kind of like voting for us. That's how you let them know that you support what we're doing. Thank you to everybody from Patreon. We appreciate you guys. Thank you to supplementsource.ca for our Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. And for another episode of the podcast. Oh, and Strom Sports Nutrition. Can't forget them. Guys, for another episode of Drugs and Stuff, we'll see you soon. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks, Dave. What was that cheesy slide, that cheesy wave?